This is the brain. First, we're going to start with the lobes. This here is called your frontal lobe here. These are your parietal lobes. Here is your temporal lobe. You have one on each side. And in the back, you have your occipital lobe. And if you actually pull back the top of the brain, you see the fifth inner lobe called the insula, which is right here. Then next, we're going to do the fissures. This is your longitudinal fissure, and it runs the whole entire course of the brain. See, it starts in the front and comes down and is in the back. Then you have your transverse fissure, and it separates the cerebrum from the cerebellum. So it separates the cerebrum from the cerebellum right here. Then you have your central sulcus, and what it is a line that it runs the course of the center of the brain, and it divides the brain into separate halves. And I'll mark it around right about here. Then you have your precentral gyrus, which is here, and it contains your primary motor cortex. And you have your postcentral gyrus, which is here, and it contains your somatosensory cortex. Here you have your lateral sulcus. Right here, it separates the temporal lobe from the parietal lobe, and they're on either side of the brain. And then in the back, you have your parietal occipital sulcus, and what that does is it separates the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe, and it kind of runs the same course as the lambdoidal suture would. And from an inferior view, which is here, they want you to be able to find the longitudinal fissure, which is the same as here. They want you to be able to find the frontal lobe, which is in the same region as the front. These are your olfactory bulbs right here on the end, and the actual line, that's the olfactory tract. Right here where the optic nerves cross, this is called the optic chiasm right here. These are your optic tracts right here. The lines actually inside, that's the tract, and then these are the nerves. They want you to be able to identify the temporal lobes, which are still located right here. They want you to be able to find the pituitary gland, which is this hanging thing right here. It always hangs. It's always the pituitary gland. And they want you to identify your mammary bodies. And what those are is beneath the pituitary gland, behind it, there are these two little bumps, and they look like breasts. That's the name they get their name, the mammary bodies. And they're located here and here. You have two of them. Right here is your the cerebral punctacles are located right here. And then you have your pons, which is here. Next you have your medulla oblongata, and that's right here. And then you have your olives. They're located here on either side of the medulla oblongata. You have your pyramids, which are these lines that run down here. And later down on the spinal cord, they cross, and you get desiccation of the pyramids, and desiccation means crossing. And then below the medulla oblongata, you get spinal cord. And on the back, you have your cerebellum right here. And you have a connection point between the cerebellum, which is called the vermis. And that will be right here. Now I want to open the brain up and show you the brain from a mid-sagittal view. Here you have your cingulate gyrus, and what it is it's part of the limbic system, and it controls emotion. And then you have your corpus callosum, and what this does is it connects the two hemispheres of the brain. Here you have a septum that divides the two sides of the brain, and it's called the septum pellucidum. You have this piece of tissue here. Right here is called a fornix, right here. And then you have a blue-gray area called the choroid plexus, and it's not visible on this half of the brain, but it is on this one. And that's this multicolored piece that runs the course of the brain right here. And then you have your third ventricle. And it's not fully visible from the mid-sagittal view of the brain, but the pineal gland hangs off of the end of the third ventricle, thus you know that it would be in this region here. And then you have the thalamus, which is this circular area here. And then this is the thalamus right here. And then you have this little dot in the center of the thalamus. It's called the intermediate mass of the thalamus, also known as the interthalamic adhesion, right here. Then you have your hypothalamus, which means below the thalamus. So you automatically know the name infers that it is below the thalamus, and it's this little triangle-shaped region right here. Then you have your pituitary gland, which is the hanging gland right here. You have the optic chiasma, which is right here where the optic canal crosses. You have your epithalamus, which is this pink region right here, and the pineal gland hangs off of the end of the epithalamus. You have your mammary body, which is still the same bump right here. And you have your cerebral peduncle, which are located here. And this is your pons. Also, you need to know your medulla oblongata from this right here. You have to know your spinal cord. Your spinal cord starts where the medulla oblongata ends. And you have these 4 bodies on the brain. They're known as the corpora quadrigemina. And what they are they're 4 bodies. You have 2 bumps here and 2 bumps here. Those are the corpora quadrigemina. And they're divided into superior and inferior colliculi, or colliculus. You have 1, 2, 1, 2. And corpora quadrigemina means 4 bodies. Here you have your cerebral aqueduct right here. And below the cerebral aqueduct, you have your 4th ventricle. And your 4th ventricle, it gives the appearance of almost a kite shape. And that's how a lot of students find it. And then right here, you have your cerebellum. And this is from a mid-sagittal view. You have what is called the arbor vitae, which is this white stuff, which is this white matter here. And the arbor vitae gets its name because that means the tree of life, thus giving the name arbor vitae. And then this is your very much your connection point for this. And this is the end of this video.